Are you spending the holidays alone this year? Well, here's some ideas so you don't have to be sad about it. I think oftentimes when we hear alone and the holidays, kind of emphasis on sadness where there doesn't necessarily have to be. There are a lot of reasons why someone may not opt to spend the holidays with friends or family. It may not be affordable. It might not be possible. It might not be reasonable. There may be some sadness involved in that. There may be some anxiety or grief or other negative or uncomfortable emotions. That doesn't mean there can't be nuanced experiences. That doesn't mean there can't be joy alongside grief or, pleasure alongside some sadness. If you've ever seen the movie Inside, which is a Pixar movie, it does a very nice job of depicting nuanced emotions within memories or moments. For instance, there might be anger alongside bravery or curiosity alongside sadness. All these different kind of emotions happening within a moment. Even if there is some sadness within the aloneness on the holidays, I hope you can find it within yourself to experience more than just that. Not all of these ideas will necessarily be alone, though some of them can and will be. Number 1, go to the movies. One of my first Christmases alone in New York was actually before I was living in New York City. I was cat sitting for my friend Kat's boyfriend Matt's cat, Oliver. Hi, Oliver. And Matt and Kat. I ended up spending a week in New York City, and at that time I wanted to see a couple movies that were in the theaters. One was Les Mis and the other was The Life of Pi. I think I saw one movie on Christmas Eve and then the next on Christmas. I think the nice thing about going to the movies on your own for the holidays, there's a sense of others in it. Even though you may feel the solitude of being on your own, you're experiencing someone else's story. There's hopefully empathy and emotional connection through whatever story is playing out on the screen. Whatever ways you can have a kind of emotionally evocative experience on the holidays is always kind of ideal. That's what we want as humans. We want emotional connection, to feel alive, to feel awake. Go see a play or a ballet or a concert. There are so many unique ways to be entertained in this world. When you see other people's talent in real time, it can just wake you up. I went to one of my favorite musicals last week, Hadestown. This is the 3rd time I've seen this production in different renditions. Each time I've been kind of moved by different songs, and so during this one I ended up crying at a song that I didn't cry at another time. And I'm like, okay, well, there's something there that's speaking to me that's new. Even though I've seen this production before, it's overturning kind of new emotional leaves within me, which felt really special. Another way to spend the holidays alone is to party. So another Christmas Eve alone in New York City, when I was actually living in the city. I think it was my first Christmas living in New York City. And I heard about this party at this really fun venue called the House of Yes, and it was like a Christmas Eve party. So I dressed up, I took the train out to Brooklyn to this crazy rager in a warehouse, the House of Yes. The whole setup is you're in this huge warehouse. There are people who are doing acrobatic tricks from the ceiling, and people were dressed up in ridiculous holiday garb, and it was a really welcoming, inclusive crowd. I had never been to a place where someone was dancing in a wheelchair. New York City isn't the most accessible place. A lot of the train systems don't have working elevators. And so it was nice to be in a space where we were all gathered around dancing with this individual who's in a wheelchair, just having the time of their life as well. The thing about being on your own for the holidays, you don't have to necessarily be on your own. There are lots of different places you can connect and find community. When you're thinking about how you want to spend this day or several days, however long you might have to spend on your own for whatever holiday you're celebrating. Thinking about the ways and places where you feel enriched, you feel awake, you feel alive, you're just having fun. Fourth way to spend the holidays alone is by volunteering. There are a lot of organizations that always need help. The kind of classic way volunteering on the holidays is often presented on TV is through a soup kitchen or some sort of food drive like that. There are so many nonprofits and charities in the world. It's just finding really where your heart kind of opens up to these spaces. Go to a museum or exhibit of some kind. This might not always be possible depending upon which holiday it is. I know a lot of museums are closed on certain holidays, especially if it's a national holiday. The nice thing about going to a museum or an exhibit, it's another way to connect to the world around you. You might learn some really interesting, cool things or be inspired by what you see. Another nice way to spend the holidays alone is by taking yourself to dinner. I've been traveling before on the holidays. If I'm in a city where friends or family aren't available or aren't living in that place, I've gone to restaurants before and enjoyed like my favorite food. In Prague or Belgium, I've had like roasted duck or goulash on the holidays. It's tasty, it's fun. It's nice to also be able to observe others around you. It's also a nice way to fill your tummy with food that brings you joy and support the local establishments. Another way to spend the holidays is by attending a kind of mass event. One holiday season, I went to a mass caroling event outside of the St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans. It was in Jackson Square and there were fake candles passed around with different holiday music, and I sang with a bunch of strangers. And I'm a terrible singer, but it was still really enjoyable. Another moment of just feeling connected, even though I didn't know anyone around me. I don't know if it was that same night or another night, they had, sometimes in big cities, they'll have projections on buildings that switch. That same year, one night I went to one of those shifting projections on a building event, like a light show essentially. Whichever place you're in, there might be things unique to your city that are like cultural events you can attend. So even though you're alone, you can be alone with others and hopefully feel that sense of connectivity.